Hi everybody! I'm currently in New York on a business and pleasure trip and got the opportunity to pop into a few of the pre-loved luxury stores we all know and love that we primarily shop online at. Fashionphile, Rebag, The Real, and also What Goes Around Comes Around. I want to talk to you a little bit about my experiences and show some of the videos and pictures that I was able to take while I was in there, because I had a blast. I had such a good time at almost all of the stores that I visited. I met some absolutely lovely sales associates who were super generous with their time, really open to talking to me about the bags that they had in stock, kind of talking to me about their collections too. Like, I showed them pictures of my stuff, they showed me pictures of their stuff, and it was just like, it was a total blast. I really had a fun time. And so I wanted to share with you my personal experiences and also some pictures and videos that I was able to take while I was in the boutiques. The first store that I want to talk to you about is The Real, because I honestly didn't take any pictures or videos while I was inside, and I was only in there for a little bit amount of time. They mostly had ready to wear in the store, and while I looked at a couple of things, I was primarily interested in looking at bags, and The Real had like a couple of cases that was just like in the back, like some bags here, some bags there, but nothing that I was particularly interested in looking at. And honestly, the store was pretty big and was pretty busy, and so I wasn't really interested in staying for very long. The Real aside though, I also went to Fashionphile, What Goes Around Comes Around, and Rebag, and had a fantastic time in all of these places. Let's talk about Rebag first, because of those three stores, I spent the least amount of time in Rebag. It was a much smaller location. It was in the shopping center right next to the World Trade Center, and wow, that shopping center is enormous. So big, so many floors. I didn't really look around. I just kind of went to Rebag and then left, but it was a lot, a little bit overwhelming. Rebag was fun though. It was a small store, so they didn't have a lot of displays out, but they had several walls. They had a wall of Chanel, one of Hermes, a wall of Louis Vuitton, and then one wall that was like Gucci, Saint Laurent primarily. I obviously looked at the Chanel stuff first, and they were at the time running a 15% off all Chanel items in store and online, but I wasn't particularly interested in anything that they had on offer, and I didn't feel like asking them to fetch anything from the back. I wasn't sure if they did or not, but I didn't feel like there was nothing that I really wanted to see. I just kind of wanted to look at the location and see what they had like kind of sitting out. I did meet an absolutely lovely sales associate there. Her name was Taylor, and she chatted to me a little bit about the bags that I had, some of the things that I was interested in, and I asked to see this lovely Birkin 30 in gold with gold hardware. Now, you know that I've talked about the Birkin 30 before in gold with gold, and it is one of the bags that is on my like dream luxury wish list. And if you haven't watched that video, I'll link it for you because I think it's a fun one. It talks about the items on my dream luxury list, and one of those items is the Birkin 30 in the gold and gold. Now, I love gold. It's one of my favorite colors after anemone and malachite, I think, and with the gold hardware, I absolutely love it. And I've been interested in the Birkin 30 for kind of a while, and so I really was excited to get the opportunity to try one on in the 30 size with the gold and gold hardware. And Taylor was lovely. She let me try it on for as long as I wanted. I took some pictures, I took some videos, and it was really nice to see it in person. That bag was currently selling for $18,900, down for $20 actually. She said it was originally $20, but it had just recently been marked down on the website, and she showed me the price there. And it was really cool. It was from 2006 in very good condition and obviously beautiful. It came full set, and it was really fun to try it on. I wasn't going to make a purchase like that in store, and even if I was going to make a purchase, I would have purchased it and then had it shipped home. First of all, for the tax, and because my tax is 6% and New York is like 8.5, 9, but also so I didn't have to like worry about taking it on the plane. But at the time, I just wanted to try it on. It was really nice to see a gold Birkin because I could see the actual color on my body with the clothes that I typically wear, and so I was really happy to have the opportunity. That was the only bag that I tried on in Rebag though, and so I wasn't in there for very long. Fashionphile was another story, however. I spent a lot of time in Fashionphile. First of all, to get into Fashionphile, I didn't know this because I've seen other YouTubers do like tours of Fashionphile, but I didn't actually know about how to enter the building itself. And you go into the building on the first floor and you sign in, you give them your license, they give you a little printout card that you beep boop to get through some turnstiles, and then you take the elevator up to the floor that Fashionphile is on. So I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know that it wasn't like a ground level thing. It was actually elevated essentially. So then you go into Fashionphile. First you see the Prada robot, the very famous Prada robot, and then you go down the hallway with a display of bags. You get to see the bag racks. Fun fact, by the way, I've seen these bag racks from Fashionphile in tours, in pictures, and they have driven me nuts because I thought that the bags were sitting just on the wire racks, and it drove me nuts. I was horrified, you know, when I first saw these. I was like, oh no, no, they're not. You closer look at them and they're actually sitting on plastic on top of the racks. A relief, the relief that I felt at seeing this. So in case you've ever worried about the bags sitting on the bag racks, they are on a plastic shelf on top of the bag racks. They're not just sitting on the wire bare. So in case that was a worry of yours, like was a worry of mine, I will now assuage your fears. After you walk all the way down, there's a beautiful showroom, a couple of different displays of bags. They've got the wall with the different displays from different bag brands and different colors. A sales associate came over to ask if we need any help, and he was so lovely. His name was Zach. We ended up chatting for almost 20 minutes, honestly, just back and forth. I talked to him a little bit about the bags that I had, the ones that I was interested in looking at, and he in turn talked about some of the bags that he liked and that he had in his own personal collection. He brought us waters and said that we could pick up to 4 bags that he could take out for us to look at a time. So I picked my 4, and then while he was in the back, like pulling those bags essentially, I walked around a little bit and I ended up seeing the real versus fake setup that they had in the back of on the back wall, and that was really cool. They had a Louis Vuitton Speedy and they had a Chanel Jumbo, and you got to choose between which of them, like kind of observe both and see which one you thought was real and which one you thought was fake. So the first one I looked at was a Chanel Jumbo, and honestly, from right off the bat, just feeling them, I felt that the one on the right was the one that was not authentic because the leather felt different. The one on the right was a lot thinner feeling, it was a little less stiff, and it felt more like malleable, like pliable, whereas the one on the left was a little bit firmer and it felt more like Chanel Caviar that I'm used to touching than the other one. And then when I opened the flaps and I looked at them inside, it was a done deal because the one on the right, the stitching was incorrect in the double CCs. The stitching was the wrong color, whereas the one on the left, the stitching was the right color, was the deep burgundy. The one on the right was the lighter color thread, and that's wrong. So I did ask, and I was correct. And I thought that was really cool to like kind of know, you know, in a more intrinsic way that my knowledge sort of helped me along in figuring out that answer. The same thing with the Speedy. So I looked at the bags and kind of right away I was able to tell, because the first thing that I checked personally, like I looked at the vachetta and everything, I looked at the printing and the screen printing, but I also checked the date stamps. That was one of the first things I checked. And the date stamp was wrong on one of them from what I know about Louis Vuitton. And so I asked, in between the one on the left and the one on the right, which one was inauthentic? Well, the one on the right was also the one that wasn't authentic. The date stamp was incorrect. And it was cool to just like, again, be aware that like my knowledge was helpful in determining that that was the reason why it wasn't the authentic bag. By that point, Zach had brought out the bags that I'd requested. I had requested this beautiful Birkin 30 in the malachite with the gold hardware. I requested a black Chanel 19 in the goat skin. I requested the Constance in the marble silk pattern, and I requested this absolutely gorgeous Chanel graffiti newspaper bag. Now, I had seen the Chanel graffiti newspaper bag pop up on the website just a few days ago, and I was really excited to see that it was carried in the New York location, because sometimes the bags that you see on the website are carried at different locations, like they're at the San Diego flagship, for instance, and the newspaper bag was at the New York location, and I was so over the moon to be able to see it in person and try it on. I did hold myself back though, because the first bag I wanted to try on was the Birkin 30, because again, I wanted to see the Birkin 30 on my body, and I was pretty sure that, as I said in my wishlist video, that the Birkin 30 is the size that I really wanted most of all. I feel that the 25 is too small, I feel that the 35 is a bit too big, but the Birkin 30 is just the right size, and so I wanted to try it on in this malachite color, even though after trying it on in the malachite, that did solidify the thought that I'm pretty sure that if I was to get a Birkin 30, at least my first Birkin 30, if not my only Birkin 30, I did want it in the gold with gold hardware. But it was so much fun to try on the beautiful malachite. It is a gorgeous color, and I think I wouldn't mind another bag in a malachite color, but I think that for a Birkin, I still prefer the gold. The next bag I tried on was the black Chanel 19 in the goat skin, and now if I was going to get a Chanel 19, I've always said that I wanted it in the goat skin most of all. I do like the durability of goat skin, I like the sheen that it has over lambskin, and I just like the Chanel 19 in the goat skin. Is just the fact, that's just what I like. But when I tried on the Chanel 19, I tried it on in boutique a couple of times, but it was a while back and I didn't particularly remember. I found that the Chanel 19 strap was a little high on me, like sitting at crossbody, which is how I kind of figured that I would carry it. It did sit a little bit high in a way that I wasn't as much a fan of. Now, I'm not the tallest person in the world. I'm 5'7". I'm just not on the shorter side, I suppose. And I like the top handle, but wearing it on the shoulder felt more like how it should be than wearing it crossbody. And I was particularly interested in the Chanel 19 for the crossbody factor, even though crossbody isn't my preferred method of carry. And so when I tried it on, I was just like, you know what? I think that I might cross the Chanel 19 off my list of things that I'm interested in. Now, fun fact, the bag that I took to New York, my everyday bag that I've just been carrying with me everywhere, has been my Chanel Walk in the black caviar with the gold hardware. I have not really used that bag for such a long time, and I decided to take it with me to New York because it set close to the body. It did crossbody really easily. It did fit everything that I needed for a day out in New York, including my spare battery. And so I decided to take that with me, and it's been great. It really made me fall back in love with the rectangular walk. So I don't know, guys, I wasn't interested in adding another walk to my collection. In fact, I kind of want to make a video of bags that I love but that I shouldn't buy, and one of the things on that list was more walks because I just haven't really been reaching for mine. But now that I've worn it so much while I've been in the city, like, I don't know, I've really fallen back in love with the Chanel wallet on chain. So I don't know, we'll see about that. Back to Fashionphile. So the Chanel 19 was kind of just like not something that was on my radar. I ended up loving the look of the Constance and the marble silk pattern, but it is silk and it is delicate, and I just knew that I would never be able to wear it. It will be solely a shelf piece, and that's not really what I want out of my bags, or at least most of my bags. I prefer to have bags that I can wear and use and not just like have them be in a museum in my home. So I decided to not even try it on, even though it was beautiful. And in a way, I saved the best for last because the final bag to try on was the newspaper bag. And oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. Absolutely stunning. I love the details of it. Now, I've seen the newspaper bag in a couple of different variations. Some have the red stripings to it, and some of them don't have the red accents. And I only love it with the red. I think that the red accents really make it as a bag. It's just so beautiful, and it just like accents it beautifully. It was absolutely stunning. And I tried it on and stared at it and stared at it. It was $62 or $6195 plus tax. It would also be something that I would buy and have mailed home to me, so I'd be paying my home tax. So I think after tax it would be $65.60, something like that. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. Now, I ended up actually sending back the Constance and the 19 and asking for 2 more bags. And so the 2 bags I asked for this time was the Kelly 32 in gold and the beige Chanel Jumbo, also with gold hardware. And so I tried on the Kelly 32 in gold because I tried on the Birkin 30 in gold, and I really, really liked it. And I was interested to see, because I've talked to you before about the fact that I was interested in either Kelly or Birkin in gold. And you know what? I didn't love the Kelly in gold as much on me as I liked the Birkin in gold on me. I think it might have been the size, actually. I like the Kelly 35 a lot. You know, I have my Kelly 35 in anemone, but in the gold, I felt that the 32 was just not the right size. I think that I would have preferred it in either a 35, so it could have been everyday like work bag, or in a 28, like a slightly smaller carry bag. But I feel like the 32 was just a little bit of an awkward size. It's kind of funny because I think my box cap 32 is also a little bit of an awkward size, even though, again, my 35 is a bag that I love and use and carry all the time. That's really cool. Another nice thing about being able to go to these stores and try so many things on and so much variety is you really get to look through your wish list and kind of see, yeah, I think this would work, or yeah, I think this actually might not work. Of course, I had to try on another beige jumbo, and this time it was the modern beige jumbo that I tried on, and I really wanted to see it next to the newspaper bag because, you know, I've been after a beige jumbo for forever now, it seems. Eons and eons, a millennia or two, over a year. I'm dramatic. But I wanted to see it next to the newspaper bag because the newspaper bag, as you can see from pictures and videos, is also beige. It has black and gold and red accents, but it is a beige bag. Now, I don't know if the newspaper bag and a beige Chanel Jumbo would do the exact same thing. Obviously, it's a medium classic flap, which is a smaller size, so it fits less, and it's a little bit dressier maybe. I feel like the beige Jumbo is more of a casual, like everyday carry bag, even though it is bigger. But I don't know. I wanted to try them on next to each other to really see what they looked like side by side. And I loved the beige Jumbo. I really did. And I liked the modern version of it a lot. I liked being able to try on the modern version because, you know, for the most part, I've been trying on the vintage ones in my fiascos or two. But comparing it to the newspaper bag, I don't know, it was pretty neck and neck. Now, I would love to hear your opinion between the newspaper bag and the beige Jumbo. Which do you prefer? Like, which do you think would be easier to wear, maybe? Like, because again, I don't believe in just holding bags on a shelf. Like, I certainly appreciate people who just collect and don't use their bags, but I don't want to ever be that type of person. I want to be able to use and love my bags in whatever way that ends up working out for me. Even if it's a few times a year, it is a special occasion bag, I still want to be able to use it in some capacity. I don't want to just sit on a shelf and just look pretty on a shelf. I'd love to hear your opinion, like between the newspaper bag and the beige Jumbo. jumbo. I think that the newspaper bag is more special. I think that I could wear it a lot of places because it is like still kind of almost a neutral, but I don't know, is the beige jumbo just, it's more carefree, it's in caviar, it's bigger so you can fit more in it, it would be more of a daily carry. Guys, I'd love to hear your opinion, so please leave a comment what your pick is between those two. Fashionphile was such a lovely experience. I really had a good time with Zach, and I ended up getting his information in part so I could text him a thank you after the fact, and I told him I would think about the newspaper bag because that was the one most on my list. Now again, like I'm looking at jumbos more in the like 3 to 4 range, and the newspaper was 62, so there's a huge price difference there, of course, but it is such a special bag, and it's such a beautiful bag. The person that I went with, you know, he said that the newspaper bag was the winner for him, and I don't disagree. I think the newspaper bag, I mean, I'm still thinking about it now, obviously, and just, it was very special. But I did say that I would think about it, and I would lay it to rest for at least a little while. I did have one more place to go to. Now I actually ended up going to What Goes Around Comes Around on a different day, and it was because I was going to the Real, and that was sort of the disappointing time. We popped into the Real and then just sort of left. We were in Fashion Street in the fashion districts, and as we were walking down the street, I noticed the What Goes Around Comes Around sign, and I was like, wait a second, I know about that. I've never really been on their website before, but I've seen other people, like I've seen Cassie Thorpe talk about What Goes Around Comes Around. I've seen some other YouTubers just talk about that store. They've been in New York, they've gone inside, and so I went in and decided to take a look around. First bag I saw, by the way, in What Goes Around Comes Around, and this is sort of the catalyst to how the rest of the experience went, to sort of color the entire rest of the experience, was I saw my watercolor flap sitting in one of the display cases, and I was so excited to see it because I'd actually just been talking to one of you who was interested in the watercolor flap, and seeing it at What Goes Around Comes Around, I was like, oh, I want to take a picture, but I didn't remember whether or not What Goes Around Comes Around allowed pictures or videos. In fact, I seem to recall seeing another YouTuber who had been to What Goes Around Comes Around, and they had said that they hadn't been allowed to take video. So a sales associate came over and asked if I wanted to see anything, and I was like really excited. I was like, I own this bag. I know somebody's also interested in this bag. Would it be okay if I took a picture or a video of it? And he was like, oh yeah, sure, please take a picture, take a video, take everything you need. And I was like, oh, great, thank you, I will. And he's like, oh, so my name's Garrett, by the way. I'd be happy to take your information, or you could send your friend my information if they're interested in the bag. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. Please do. So I got his number, took a couple pictures of the watercolor bag, and said, thank you so much. He put it back in the case, and we kept going around the store. And then what did I find? But this, it was airline bag, which is also a bag I've been talking about for an eon and a half, and was also in my wish list video, and also in like another video that I did recently about bags that I'm interested in buying and why. And it was so cool to see it in person. So I immediately was excited to Garrett. I'm like, Garrett, this is a bag that I wanted for so long. Can I please look at it? And he's like, yes, of course. And I said, please, can I take a video? Is that okay? And he's like, yes, please, of course. So I took videos of the airline bag. I tried it on a couple of different ways, you know, on the shoulder and in the crook of my arm, and just carrying it. It was so cool to see it in person. It was so pretty. The colors were so vibrant. Obviously, it is one of the top bags that was on my list of things that I was interested in getting, especially recently. It was so cool to see it in person. I tried it on. Obviously very excited. I was like, oh, when I first saw it in the cabinet, and he was like, will you see something? I was like, yes, I do see something. Guess what? It's airplane bag. And the person I was with also knew how much I had been talking about airplane bags, so he was also very excited for me. Garrett was super excited. He ended up looking up the price for me. It was a little bit pricey. I think What Goes Around is a little bit on the pricier side. It was $81.50, but it had been marked down currently to like $7,300. So it's something to think about, certainly. A little bit pricier than I've normally seen airline bags go for, but just the ability to see it in person was super cool. And I ended up getting to talk to Garrett a little bit more about bags that I was interested in. I took some more pictures and videos of the building and Goes Around Comes Around, other things that I saw, and I mentioned that I was interested in beige Chanel jumbo. I told him the horror story from the Real, and he was like, girl, you got something from the Real. And I was like, I know, I should have known better. But he's like, actually, let me ask, because I think at our other location we currently have a vintage jumbo. And I was very excited to hear that, and he ended up getting a text back from his manager who was at the other location, and he said, oh, you know what, the other location is just a few blocks away. Would you want me to walk you over? Oh, that's delightful. Why, sure, if you want to, if you don't mind taking a stroll, like, that would be lovely. Thank you so much. And he walked us over to the other location of What Goes Around Comes Around, which I didn't even know existed. I didn't know they had two locations. He walked us over. We were chatting the whole time, talking about bags. It was so fun to just talk to people. Like, that really knew about this stuff that I could bounce off of. He was really enthusiastic. I was really enthusiastic. We were just really excited to talk about bags, and he, I guess, could, you know, pick up that I was really appreciative of Chanel and vintage and like special collections, because he showed me the other store. He talked to me about the other bags that they had, a little bit about how they sourced a lot of stuff from Japan. He brought over the Chanel Jumbo, which was also the Mademoiselle quilting in caviar that I had bought from the Real and had to return because it was damaged irreparably. And I got to try that on, and that was super cool. I ended up getting to talk to him. The manager came over to ask how we were doing, and she was just like, oh, just talking to me about bags. And I mentioned that, you know, these are the colors that I'm interested in. They brought over stuff for me. I mentioned that I like the iridescent pink, that I have a walk, and she's like, oh, I think we have a medium classic flap in that. Let me bring that over. And then she did, and I got to try on the medium classic flap in the 2019 iridescent pink, which was super cool. And I just walked around the store. I got to see some other things that they had. They had a really cool Hermes section, and actually a mini Lindy that I was interested in trying on, which I did. The only thing about the mini Lindy is that it was a beautiful color, and I don't remember what the color is. I know what the color is, but it keeps like escaping my mind. And I know it's a vert something, but they're all vert something at this point. You know, this brighter green. And I like the mini Lindy, but the one that I tried on, I think it was the newer version, the mini Lindy 2 with a shorter strap, because it didn't really fit crossbody on me. It sat really high on me crossbody, which I feel like the older mini Lindies, they sat lower crossbodies, which is a little bit more of a comfortable drop. It was such a cute little bag, just like cute little dumpling bag. But I think that I didn't really love this drop on the mini Lindy 2. It would have been more of a shoulder bag for me than a crossbody, and I probably would have preferred it to be a crossbody bag. They had other mini Lindies, but that was really the color that I was interested in, so that was the only one I tried on. But I got to see other racks and shelves that they had of Chanel, of Louis Vuitton. I got to chat more with the manager, who was super, super nice. She was pulling Birkins for a client that was going to be coming by, like a very important client. And she was looking at the wall of Birkins, and she was just talking to me. She's like, well, he's interested in primarily bigger bags and Birkins. He wants exotics, but he doesn't want pink. And there was like a pink exotic Birkin 35, and she'd already pulled 2 other exotic Birkin 35s. And there was a shoulder Birkin in a croc burgundy, and I suggested, like, well, what about it was like a dark burgundy, like what about the shoulder Birkin, because, you know, East West is really in right now, the burgundy is super on trendy color. And she's like, you know what, you're right. So she pulled that one too. She just like listened to me, I guess. It was just so cool. It was so neat. And then after a while, I was looking at some other things, and Garrett came over to me again and said, you know what? I think that you might be interested in this. I think that you'd really appreciate it. We have a basement, actually, that we don't really tell a lot of people about. It's generally where we host like our celebrity guests and our very important, very, very important clients. But we've got some really pretty and really unique vintage Chanel bags down there. And we've also got our ready-to-wear down there. Would you be interested in seeing the basement? And I was just like, yeah, I'd love to see this super special, secret, awesome basement. Are you kidding? Sure, please, thank you. So he led me out through an exit door and down like this staircase that was like this dark, kind of like poorly lit stairwell. And then out we come into this basement, like again, with ready to wear, really nice ready to wear, and then a few different racks of bags. Really, really cool. Like I asked him, I was just like, okay, please feel free to say no, but would it be all right if I took a video of this to share? And he's like, oh yeah, please take all the videos you want. Thank you so much. It was so cool. Like, so I wanted to share it with you. So I just took a pan around of the basement, and it was so cool to see it. I looked at some of the ready to wear, but I wasn't particularly interested in purchasing ready to wear. So I didn't want to take it off the rack and put it back. But he showed me a couple of his favorite pieces. Like he showed me this like really floofy fur Chanel piece from I think 1998 or something, like really vintage and in beautiful shape for vintage. It was so cool. It was such a delightful time. I keep saying delightful, but that's what it was. It was such a delightful time. He treated me really well. The manager too. She was so nice. Garrett was so nice, and I had such a blast. It was so much fun. And so I did tell him, like, I was thinking about airline bag. I was thinking of the vintage Chanel Jumbo. I really appreciated him showing them both to me, but I was also thinking about newspaper bag from Fashionphile, and I showed him a picture. He's like, oh yeah, I totally see what your conundrum is. Like, please, like, take all the time you need. I will give you my number in case that you obviously pass it along to your friend about the watercolor bag, but if you have anything else that you're interested in looking for, we can always see about sourcing it for you, which also super cool, sourcing something from Japan for me if I so choose. But like, keep things on your wine bar. And you know what? Let me know what you end up deciding. If you end up getting the newspaper bag, please tell me that you get the newspaper bag, because I would be super thrilled for you. And thank you. That was just, it was so cool. I got to have a delightful tour of the store. He showed me all around. He showed me different bags that I would be interested in. He walked me to the other location, which is cool. I got to see the super special secret awesome basement room. Apparently, like, Sabrina Carpenter had been there just like a couple of days ago, and I thought that was pretty neat. I texted him the next day to say thank you again for the lovely time, and he said it was a really good time showing you around, so please keep me in touch. Please keep in touch, and of course. And yeah, it was so nice. I had such a good time shopping Preloved in New York. It was so much fun. The Real World, I'd say, wasn't really worth it unless you're interested in primarily ready to wear, but even Rebag was pretty nice. Small but mighty. The sales associates were super friendly, super nice. I had a great time there. I didn't look at very much, but of what I did see, it was pretty nice. The two standouts, though, were Fashionphile and What Goes Around Comes Around. I would say between the two stores, Fashionphile and What Goes Around Comes Around, Fashionphile did have better prices overall. What Goes Around Comes Around was a lot pricier, all things considered, but they did have some more unique pieces too. So it's kind of like, what are you looking for and how are you looking for it? What Goes Around Comes Around pieces were also in beautiful condition, where Fashionphile had some more pieces in like different kinds of like shows wear, doesn't shows wear. I think that What Goes Around Comes Around was a little bit more curated in that selection, where Fashionphile just had so much. So I would say, you know what, if you only had one afternoon to spend, like just a few hours, I'd say Fashionphile. But if you really are looking for, like, if you have more time to spend, you really want to see some like really cool, different, fun, unique pieces, What Goes Around Comes Around for sure, and definitely ask to see both locations. This video is getting a little bit long, so I think I'm going to leave it off there. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you enjoyed seeing the little eye candy and hearing my stories about what my experiences were like. If you've ever been to any of these stores, I'd love to hear your experiences, or if you got anything from any of these stores, I'd love to hear what you purchased. Please let me know what you think again about the beige Chanel jumbo versus a newspaper bag, because I think I know which way I'm leaning, but I would love your input, because it's a pretty big decision, and one that might be surprising if I choose one over another. But for now, I will sign off. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please do give it a like. It super duper helps the algorithm, and subscribe for more content that helps the algorithm even more. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.